So for the folks who are watching this video and they've, bless them, gone through this whole course with us, and they probably have some really great ideas, you know, sitting in the back of their minds. Maybe their groups and their congregations have talked about some things. What advice or suggestions might you offer to them about what to do with those inklings of ideas? Where could they start? What kinds of things do they have access to, or what kinds of steps should they take to do something with that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would have 5 to 10 conversations with people who you think have something to say on your idea. Yeah. Not necessarily people who you think will be on like your team to move it forward, but who have some, you know, if you have an idea that's about a dinner church, have 3 conversations with people who already do food ministry and hospitality in your congregation. Have 3 conversations with local restaurants or cafes that do some sort of value-based something, and 3 conversations with busy families that you feel like would welcome a chance to have a meal that was prepared by someone else. I don't know, I'm just making up off the spot.
But, yeah, no, not 10 true. Inside your congregation is what you're saying.
Right, yes. And then see what those people have to say. And I'm being serious. If 9 out of 10 are like, that seems like a really cool idea, and I can't imagine how I would have a role or gifts to give in that idea, then ask the question, like, what needs to change? Because if you're having conversations and people are not, there's not energy there. Sometimes we say at Lucy Stone, try harder is not a strategy. And so you really
so true.
Like listening to people's feedback. If people say like, your amazing shiny idea, I don't have a role in it, take that really seriously, because you could spend a lot of time being excited about an idea that there's just not the buy-in or capacity to move forward. Yeah. But if you're able to have the sort of flexibility of spirit to listen to other people, and it doesn't mean that, like, you know, it's a tricky balance. Clear visions are compelling, so it's not True. About watering down what is in your heart, but it is about the truth that if you don't have a team that's willing to move something forward, it will be very hard to get to a next step.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that's basically very similar to what I was going to say, which is the conversations. And especially, you know, I think it's really important to talk to other UU groups in your area geographically. Also, if in any area of ministry you're trying to do, you know, just don't reinvent the wheel. Just really don't reinvent the wheel. So, so both those conversations, absolutely outside of Unitarian Universalism, those are so important, whether it's other faith traditions and other secular organizations, but also, you know, make sure you talk to someone on your regional staff from the UUA. You know, if it's relevant to any of the portfolios that are held by UUA staff at headquarters, talk to somebody at headquarters, and definitely talk to other congregations in your area, to the lay leaders there, to the staff there, because we're so much more capable when we're together.
And I just want to hold up something that Elizabeth said that connects to where you started this this conversation, Annie, about finding your people and then thinking about your purpose. And I know also because I've heard you talk about this before.
Yeah.
But there's a piece to that that's like you have to have enough of an idea or a vision or a sense of possibility to get people excited.
Yep.
But then if you have such ownership of that it can't evolve,
yep.
Then that's always going to feel like you're just trying to drag people along.
Yeah, it's like a cycle of like idea that's clear enough to be exciting, and then people who help shape it, and then you have a more clear idea and you get more people. It's like I just see it
and then
almost
they get
like
invested in that idea that they help shape.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, absolutely,
totally. Well, I think there are certainly lots of tools in this course that might help you, but I think starting with relationships, starting with just building that dialogue and that rapport is going to make your use of the tools in this course so much more powerful and effective and meaningful. Because you're starting with that really strong base of understanding. I mean, we spend so much time in this course talking about how to get outside your own assumptions, your own perspective, your own experience, and see it from someone else's point of view, and that's really what that's a really concrete way to do that, is just have some coffee conversations with people and who are going to be able to give you some really in-depth feedback about what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think the other thing I'll add is our colleague Hillary Allen sometimes talks about emergence, that sometimes things just like click and work and it happens, and sometimes they don't. And just because it didn't click and work doesn't mean that anyone necessarily messed up. And it doesn't mean that the idea was necessarily bad or that the people were the wrong people. And I think that's like a sort of a theological and spiritual practice question of like, sometimes we can't actually logic something into being. Like we might have all the right ingredients and it just doesn't work. And sometimes there can be these amazing moments of synthesis where, you know, a congregation has a basement and they're in a position to redo it, and local students want to start a youth shelter and there's some city support, and then boom, it goes. And I think being able to hold that we're not in control of everything, and just because something doesn't happen one time doesn't mean that it couldn't happen in the future.
Yeah, and sometimes you work hard, and it seems like it's not happening, and it seems like it's not happening, and you're working in like 2 years in, and then it happens.
Right, or something different happens, but those people wouldn't have known each other if they hadn't been at that meeting about that other thing that didn't actually happen. Like,
That's true.
yeah, there are blessings to the fact that we're not in control of everything.
Yeah.
Sarah, do you want to close us out for this section of our lecture?
I just want to say how much I appreciate having Annie and Elizabeth with us today. Your perspectives and your stories and your theological underpinnings and logistical groundings have been a real gift to us and our course. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you
Thanks for doing this.
doing this and inviting us.
Thanks, everybody.